do I have any recommendations for gastritis? Gastritis is inflammation within the stomach itself, that bag that's connected on one end to the esophagus, food traveling down, and on the other end to the small intestine, dumping it out so it can be broken down and you can absorb the nutrients. So gastritis is specifically for the stomach. Anything ending in itis means inflammation. What is inflammation? Inflammation is when your body is trying to get rid of something it doesn't like. And so it's sending in all its troops, and it's sending in all its chemical messengers, and it's causing a bunch of swelling and blood supply because it thinks it needs to protect you from something. So let's ask ourselves the question, what would it be protecting you from? What would the wisdom of your body be doing? Well, the things that go in there are food. So there might be a food that your body is saying, wait a sec, this was okay up until now, but you've really tipped me over on this and I don't like it anymore. So now every time I see it, I'm going to attack it. So you want to figure out what, if any, of the inflammatory foods that you're eating and stop them. Top inflammatory foods: refined sugar, wheat, dairy, and eggs. Egg proteins. So those are the questions to ask yourself. What else could be irritating? An infection, specifically H. pylori, Helicobacter pylori. That is easy enough to test, and the best test is a breath test. There's a lot of PCR stool tests that are getting false negative, so don't go down that route because you'll end up on a triple antibiotic therapy that you might not need. Breath test. And it could just be the acidity of the food that's causing gastritis. It's just too much acidity. Now, when we're digesting foods, the acidity of the stomach reaches a pH of 1. That's the acidity of battery acid. So you can see how protective that mucus layer inside the cells of the stomach are incredibly important. That mucus layer is literally protecting you from burning a hole through yourself. Well, that reminds me, there is one other, let's go into the mental emotional realm. So stress, right? Stress is another place where you probably have heard of people get ulcers, which is, the step beyond gastritis. First you have inflammation, eventually you can burn a hole through your stomach because the acidity is that strong. So practically, you'd want to remove any sources of inflammation first because we want to treat the cause, and then you want to heal the tissue. And how I do that is with the high-density mucopolysaccharide aloe, because that aloe will do the same thing to the inside lining of your body as it does to the outside covering of your body. They come from the same progenitor cells. It's literally the same tissue, but different, right? The skin is several layers thick, protecting you from the outside world. The digestive tube is one single layer thick, at least when you get down into the small intestine. There's many more layers in the stomach, but it's still a thin layer. So if you apply aloe in there by swallowing it, then you're going to be able to help build back any kind of damage in the cellular layer, as well as help with the mucus layer, right? Because the mucus is being secreted by goblet cells. Those are cells within the mucosa of the stomach lining. And then the other thing I use is the GI1 powder, but I don't use it in the same dosing that I use for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth or IBS, gas and bloating kind of symptoms. I use it in the dose that I use for inflammatory bowel disease, which is usually no more than 5 grams. And that will help build the cell-to-cell structure that's also a protective mechanism throughout the intestine. That's what I do.